The Olympus family kind of got its start many years ago. I think maybe 6 years ago. I did some experiments with the prototype department using rings that we had and forging them to kind of create a sculptural, more interesting ring form, and this is an example of one of those. I started working with this software, Shaper 3D. It is very intuitive and fast to iterate ideas, and the orb was a really complex puzzle. So I got back to the idea of these rings and using them in multiples to create different forms. I've always been intrigued by geometry, and that kind of comes from my architecture background. So rings obviously lead to spheres and other forms. I also liked the kind of, once we got into multiple sizes of rings, the sort of asymmetrical cascading forms. So we have a number of fixtures that use that aesthetic. But the orb is probably the first fixture that I started developing, and that really became one of my favorites in the family. There's a starburst, which also kind of gets back to geometry and how the rings are kind of exploding out of the center of the starburst, which is quite dramatic. And then all of the kind of cascading linear forms, the table, which is quite dynamic. So I really like puzzles, and the Olympus family is really kind of an example of that, where inspired by rings led me to lots of different forms of light fixtures, which are really beautiful.